Hi, welcome to Love It or Hate It, just rated in the comments. Rated in the comments. So my mom is not joining us tonight, but I'm gonna give you like a review slash recap of You. That's right, You. No, You. It's a Netflix original series. And let me tell you, it's super good. It's so good. So it does start off a little slow. It starts off a little slow. And I'll be honest, like when I was first watching it, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue this. But I'm so glad I continued to watch. It was so good. So let me tell you why it's so good. So there's really two main characters in the beginning. So it's really Joe and there's Beck. Okay, and so Joe and Beck meet at the bookstore, and Joe is the manager at the bookstore. And Joe basically inherited the bookstore from the gentleman who raised him. He owned the bookstore. And how it works is, they meet in the bookstore, they're talking and all this kind of stuff. And let me just say, one of the things that I really like about this show that was really different to me, because when you watch these different shows and series, you're just sitting there and you're listening to the dialogue. You're listening to the dialogue, saying what's going to happen next. But I liked that it's narrated through Joe's thoughts. That was so cool to me because his thoughts are crazy. His thoughts are so crazy because he's crazy. He's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But anyway, so this is what happened. So Joe and Beck meet at the bookstore, right? And from then on, Joe is obsessed. He is obsessed with Beck. And so he follows her, he watches her, and he found her he found her on social media. Then he found her address online some kind of way, and so he goes to her house like every night, and she has this big large picture window so you can see right into her house every single night because there's no curtains or anything. And he's just watching her. He's watching her every move. Like, he's a true definition of stalker. Okay, stalker status. So anyways, so that's Joe, right? And then there's Beck. So Beck is a graduate student. And she's kind of sort of seeing this dude Benji on and off, but really I guess they're kind of off right now because Benji, she caught him in the bathroom with some chick at some party and she was giving him head. And it's like, whew, after that, it's over. But whatever. So anyways, Benji shows up at her apartment and he's all whispering those sweet nothings in her ear, of course, and she kind of falls for it or whatever. And that's that. So moving back on to Joe's still stalking her, following her every single move because he's trying to figure out how can he wiggle his way into her life, right? I know I like to move and dance and stuff when I'm telling my stories, but anyways. So she's definitely she's trying to get over Benji. She's trying to, but Joe actually ends up kidnapping Benji, and that's a whole nother story, so I'm gonna get into that soon. But there's another character. It's a kid. His name is Paco, and Paco is actually Joe's neighbor. So Paco's mom is in a relationship with this police officer who's very abusive to her. Like, it's an extremely abusive relationship. Paco just seems like he's a really good kid, so they're always inside fighting, and Paco's outside reading books because he loves books. So Joe is like his buddy, and Joe looks after Paco, because the mom is like so busy dealing with the boyfriend and she's not really paying attention to Paco, but Joe looks out for Paco, you know what I mean? So, and I'll tell you my thoughts on that real quick. I think that Paco is going to turn into a Joe down the line. 100% believe that. And I'll let you know what I mean by that in just a few minutes. So anyways, so eventually Joe and Beck kind of get together. They're kind of seeing each other casually. But Beck is still having all of these different casual events with these random dudes that she's meeting, and then she finally decides that she actually wants to be with Joe. And I'll tell you this, like, initially I thought Beck was cool, but as it goes on, I was like, I don't really like Beck. Like, she seems, I don't know, kind of lazy, I guess. Kind of like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Whatever that, I don't know. I couldn't really get it. Like, I wanted her to, like, pick up the pace, I guess. I wanted her to pick up the pace and go with the flow, but, that's just me. Not necessarily go with the flow, but pick up the pace. So anyways, whatever. So she decides to be with Joe. They decide to be together, and it's pretty wonderful. It's cool because Joe is pretty awesome. But Beck also has these friends, these super rich friends or whatever. But then there's one friend in particular, Peach. And Peach is like she's like the captain of the crew, basically. Peach is the captain of the crew. That's how I'll explain her. And in reality, Peach is in love with Beck. Peach loves Beck. She calls her Beckalicious and all this kind of stuff or whatever. But Peach is on to Joe. She knows that Joe is a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, okay? So Peach knows what's up. And Joe is beginning to realize that Peach knows what's up. So anyways, remember that. And Peach is like, Peach doesn't hide it. She doesn't hide it. She does not hide it. And she definitely lets Joe know how she feels about him. And she lets Beck know, definitely. She lets Beckalicious know. So anyways, that's that. So as the story goes on, Beck and Joe, you know, it kind of gets a little bit better, but he's in her apartment when she's not there. He's cloned her phone, so he's getting all the text messages. He's seeing everything that's going on. But again, like his commentary, like how it's narrated through his thoughts is super cool. You got to see it because it's different in that way. Because his thoughts are hilarious. They're hilarious and crazy all at the same time. So anyways, so back to Joe and Beck. So they break up. I don't remember exactly why they broke up, but they broke up. And then but before that, Joe and Beck had went to this party. And so Joe actually used to date this other girl named Candace. But Candace just all of a sudden disappeared. She disappeared. So supposedly this one girl was like, oh, hey Joe, you used to date Candace, right? And he's like, yeah. You know, he's trying to just brush that off. Like he doesn't want to bring Candace up and doesn't want Beck to know anything about Candace because Candace just up and disappeared. You know what I mean? Supposedly Joe says she moved to Italy or whatever. And they broke up and all this kind of stuff. So there was that. So that was always on Beck's mind, like, oh, well, what happened to Candace? And actually, now let's fast forward to the Joe and Beck breaking up. So basically they broke up because, I don't remember. Beck was thinking about all these different things with Joe and all this kind of stuff. So they broke up. And Joe ended up getting with Karen, this black girl or whatever. And so, you know, they're together and it's cool. But Joe has these dreams. He has these dreams and he wakes up and he screams, Candace. Okay? He's always, you know, he wakes up and he screams, Candace. And Karen realized that. And some kind of way, I guess Beck decides that she wants to be with Joe again. So, you know, she's making these random encounters with Joe and everything. And they finally kind of hook up while Joe is still with Karen. So Joe is he's definitely cheating on Karen, but him and Beck are getting it on, okay? They're getting groovy. Getting freaky. Not groovy, but freaky. So anyways, yeah. And eventually, you know, Joe breaks up with Karen. And so Karen is upset. She leaves. Oh, but Karen was also the social worker for Paco. And so she was like, well, Paco and Paco's mom, she was helping them out, basically. And I guess, like, after Joe broke up with Karen, she was no longer the social worker. She left. She transferred. And so Paco was really upset about that because I think Karen was definitely helping them out. That was a whole nother situation there. But moving back on, so Joe breaks up with Karen. They're broken up. And then so Karen sees Beck on the streets or whatever. And she said something like, be careful with Joe. You know, I think he might be thinking about Candace or something like that. Because Candace is his ex. And then Beck starts thinking like, Candace. And Karen is like, you know, she's thinking like, okay, well, you must sleep really hard. Because he wakes up in the middle of the night screaming Candace. So that's that. So whatever, Joe and Beck are back together, okay? But Peach is still like, you know, she's still on to Joe. She's on to Joe. So Joe actually tries to kill Peach. He tries to kill Peach. So they're running, or she's running. And because, you know, Joe knows everybody's schedule. You know, he's following everybody. He's creeping. Okay, he's a true stalker. So he finds out Peach's running path. And then so he's running. And he tries to kill her. Like, I think he hit her with a rock or something. And he thought that she was going to die. But she didn't. She was still alive. But for whatever reason, she didn't see Joe. So she didn't know it was Joe. I think she was a little suspicious, though. She thought it was him. But she didn't know. So there was that. But, oh, I totally forgot to tell you guys about Benji. Before he even tried to kill Peach, he kidnapped Benji, or yeah, is his name Benji or Benjamin? No, his name was Benji, yeah. So he kidnapped Benji, and he locked him down in the basement in the bookstore, and it's this big glass room, and you can't get out. Like, you have to have the extra key, and he didn't have the key. And so basically, because Joe didn't, he didn't like Benji, and Joe wanted Beck for herself. So that's actually how he got to Beck, because Beck she was getting back into Benji again, because, they got their groove on when he saw her that night. But Joe was like, oh, I'm not having it. So he kidnapped Benji, he put him down there in the basement, locked him in there, and eventually, bottom line, he killed him. But he kept his cell phone. He kept his cell phone just like he kept... I'll have to tell you that later. He kept his cell phone, and he's sending messages to people. He's sending messages. Or posting. He's posting things just to make it seem like he's still alive, and he's just, he's alive, and he's not. Joe actually gave him some coffee, I think, or he gave him something with peanuts in it, and he's allergic to peanuts, so he basically died. He killed him. So and actually, you know what? He initially hit him in the head with this big old hammer type thing or whatever, so that's how he got him in there. But bottom line, Joe killed Benji, and then he attempted to kill Peach. So he's trying to kill all these people that are trying to get close to Beck, intimate, super intimate, but Joe's not going to have it. So he goes after Peach and he tries to kill her, but he didn't succeed. She lived. So whatever. So later on, Peach and Beck go to Connecticut because, Peach needed her, so they went to Connecticut. And then so Peach actually, makes an advance. Like, she's, telling Beck that, she likes her and wants to be with her and they can be together. And Beck is like, no. And I'm trying to remember how this happened. I think Beck leaves. And bottom line, Joe killed her, okay? Joe killed Peach and made it look like it was a suicide. But of course, her family didn't believe that she committed suicide. So they had this investigator out there trying to figure out who did it. Somebody killed Peach because Peach did not kill herself. So whatever, so the investigator's investigating. But Joe he's so smooth. Because he's such a stalker and he knows almost everyone's move, he has all of his T's crossed and his I's dotted, okay? So he's the shiznit, seriously. He's the shiznit in the sense of getting away with all of these murders because there's multiple murders that occur. And let me just tell you, you believe that Candace, he murdered her, his first girlfriend, who everybody's asking about. You think that he probably murdered her because the way things are shaping up, everybody's like, yeah, she went to Italy, she disappeared, and she's gone. And then I think her brother died too. There's so many things. It's so many different things. But let's go on back to Paco, okay? Paco and the mother's boyfriend. So the mother's boyfriend, he's beating the mother up so bad, and so now he's trying to go after Paco, but Paco leaves. He runs away, and then the boyfriend is following him. So he follows him across the street to this garden, and something happens. He's trying to get him, but then Joe sees the dude. What was the dude? Oh, the dude's name was Ron. His name was Ron. So then Joe sees Ron looking for Paco, and bottom line, Joe killed Ron. And I was like, good job. Somebody needed to kill him. He definitely needed to die. So that's what happened with that. And Paco was like, he was a little afraid, but Joe showed him how to clean it up. And, Paco knows that Joe has his back, so it was all good, okay? Paco knows who's looking out for him the most. So there's that. So, they clean that whole scene up or whatever. And what happens? Fast forward. So after Beck and Joe are back together for a while and things are cool, Beck is truly getting very curious about Candace, especially since Karen had said something about Candace. And, I think that he woke up in the middle of the night and she was actually awake. She wasn't quite asleep. And she heard him wake up screaming Candace. Okay? So let's just give you a little background on Candace. So again, as I mentioned before, Candace is Joe's first girlfriend before Beck, okay? And Joe was madly in love with Candace. He did the same stalker stuff there because he's a stalker slash killer slash psycho. But again, the way he narrates it, it seems perfectly normal because he justifies everything in this matter of fact type of way. Like, oh, he did X, Y, Z, so he had to die. It only makes sense. It's kind of like that. But anyways, so Beck is definitely getting kind of suspicious in reference to Candace. Like, well, what happened to Candace? Where's Candace? Who is Candace? She's getting a little jealous too, and a little insecurities coming in. So she's doing even more research. She's researching, and she's trying to find Candace, but she can't find her. So anyways, I think Beck had ran into Paco, and Paco had said something to Beck about how Joe told him that the best place to hide stuff, I think, was in the ceiling. And then so when she was in the bathroom at Joe's house, she happens to look in the ceiling. I don't know what made her look in the ceiling in the bathroom, but she did. And man, let me tell you, that's where she found all the goods, okay? She found teeth. She found old teeth. She found her smashed up phone. She found even her underwear. Because he initially had, before they were even ever together, he had been in her apartment, got some of her underwear, saved him as a souvenir. Okay, and all of that was up there in the ceiling in this little box, okay? And she found it, and it freaked her out, right? It freaked her out. And this is while Joe was out getting them coffee and stuff. I think, was he getting coffee and pancakes? I think he was just getting coffee. And so anyways, so she found all that stuff and she went crazy. So she tries to hurry up and sweep it up because Joe's coming back, and put it back in there. And then all of a sudden, she's about to leave. And then Joe goes to the bathroom and he actually sees one of the teeth on the floor. He saw the tooth. So he goes over, he's like, bam. Where are you going? You're not going anywhere. Blah, 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 blah. Bottom line, locks her up in the basement at the bookstore, keeps her in there. And then she tells him, we're going to fast forward through all this little, torture or whatever. And he didn't really torture her. He didn't do any harm to her or anything like that. I mean, he did basically knock her out so that he could get her down there in that basement and lock her in there. But it's in the little glass. It's a little glass room in there. And he had her locked in there. So then she's telling him how she really has to go to the bathroom, blah, 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 whatever. And he's like, okay. So he's opening the door to let her get out to go to the bathroom. And, she locks him in there. She locks him in there. So he's locked in there. So you think, she's going to get away. So she's running. She runs up the stairs and the door is locked. It's locked and she can't get out. But guess who shows up? Paco shows up. And so she's trying to get Paco to open the door, but Paco's like, nope. Because Paco knows that Joe's the only one that's been looking out for him. So no, Paco didn't open that door for her. I mean, I shouldn't be laughing, but he didn't. He didn't open the door for her. He just closes the other door. He walks away. So then she goes back downstairs and Joe's not in there anymore. He's not in the little glass room anymore. So basically, as I mentioned in the beginning, Joe inherited that store from the bookstore owner because he's the one who raised Joe. And he would lock Joe in there all the time. So eventually Joe got smart and he made a copy of the key so that he wouldn't really be locked in there, and he would hide the key inside of there. So basically, Joe had the key in there and he got out. Okay, he got the key and he got out. And then he ended up, I think he killed her. But not I think, he did kill her. Okay, he killed Beck, and that's what happened with that. So Beck is dead. Beckalicious, gone bye-bye. But let me tell you, that's not how it ends. That's not the very end of the story. How it ends is the bookstore door opens, right? And somebody's walking in. And these cute kind of like combat boots and like a cute little skirt. And you see some red hair. And then all of a sudden, who do you see? Bam, it's Candace. She's like, hi, Joe. And so I'm sitting here thinking like, oh my God, I thought I killed Candace. She's been gone all this time. Unless Candace had a twin. But they didn't say anything about her having a twin. But I don't know. So That's what I have for you. It's so good. It's really good. You definitely have to watch it because how it's narrated is fun. It's so much fun. It's just fun listening to his voice and really his thoughts, how he's justifying his craziness. So again, it's called You. It's a Netflix original and it's so good. So what I want you to do is write a comment down below. Let me know if you've already seen it. If you haven't seen it, please go to Netflix because I just did like a snippet of a recap here and there and there. There's a lot more in there that's a little juicy. But again, remember, stick with it because in the beginning, it is a little slow. It goes like, woo, woo. Then that's what starts happening. So don't forget to watch it. Netflix original, You, Y-O-U. Don't forget to love it, hate it, just rate it in the comments. Like, share, all that good stuff. Bang the bell for notifications too. Okay? Have a good night. Bye.